Well, this here is the all-new Toyota Fortuner for 2016, and I'm sure that you've already seen a lot of pictures of this car over the internet, and I have to say that none of those pictures do justice to this car when you see it for the first time in person. In fact, when you see it for the first time at a showroom, you will simply go, wow, it does look very amazing. So what I'm going to do now is stop talking and allow the visuals to do all the talking. Well, if you like the cabin of the new Innova Crysta, then you will simply fall in love with the cabin of the new Toyota Fortuner. And even though some of the design elements are very similar, this one feels a whole lot more premium as well as a lot plusher than the Innova Crysta's cabin. And not only does it feel premium and upmarket from the Crysta, but it also feels a lot more upmarket as well as luxurious from the outgoing Fortuner. Toyota really has worked very hard to improve the quality over here, and perceived quality levels are phenomenal to say the least. And the top of the dashboard as well as the top of the door pad are made with very good quality of plastics, and you also get leather over here in the center console. So it really does feel like a very premium and a very posh place to be in. Well, because it is an SUV, in terms of practicality, it is a good place to be in. You get this huge box over here where you can keep your cell phone, wallet and a lot of Diet Coke cans. You also get a couple of big glove boxes, and as you can see, this one has a very nice dampened effect, which means that it opens up very slowly and adds to the feeling of luxury inside the cabin. You also get two big bottle holders over here, and the door bins are also large enough to house that big bottle from your home. Now, in terms of features, you get a very exhaustive list. You get 4 disc brakes, you get 7 airbags inside the cabin. You also get hill climb as well as hill descent assist, and you also get cruise control on the Fortuner, and you also get these very nice looking Optitron gauges, which really do look very cool as well as sporty. Well, but that's not all. You also get a huge 9-inch screen over here, which acts as the infotainment system, and not only is it very intuitive to operate, well, but the best part about the Fortuner has to be this huge glass area and these high set seats, and they really do give you a feel of what a quintessential SUV should be all about. And you are sitting up so high that you really do look down on other puny cars. Well, and Toyota has used a lot of its prowess from the Land Cruiser SUV range, and what that means is that not only do you get a very good 4x4 system, you also get these big grab handles over here in the front seats, which means that getting in and out of this car is more of a breeze now. Well, so if you are someone who enjoys being chauffeur driven in, then you should really enjoy the back seat of the new Toyota Fortuner. And as you can see, headroom is more than adequate, even for someone who is my height, which for reference is 5'10". Well, so as you can see, I have about 4 or 5 inches above my head, so these seats should be pretty comfortable for even someone who is around 6 feet or a little more than that. That said, the other good point about these seats is the fact that you can of course slide them forward or take them back, and you can also incline or recline them further, which means that really you are the boss when you are sitting over here. Well, even though there is a bit of a hump in the floor panel, because remember this is a 4x4 SUV, it should not be too much of an issue because the footwells are pretty big enough to accommodate someone's feet, and whoever's sitting here will have plenty of place to stretch his feet at. And also the Fortuner is a pretty wide car at the back, which means that having 3 occupants over here over long journeys should not be a problem at all. And you also get your own AC vents in all 3 rows, which means that no one should be complaining about the AC inside this car. Well, so here I'm in the last row of the Fortuner seats, and as you can see, headroom is pretty decent, and even if I really do sit very upright, I still have about a couple of inches above my head. So what that means is that even for someone who is about 6 feet in height, it should not be a problem sitting in these seats. Well, the seat squab over here now is in its full forward position, but the incline is at its halfway position, and even then I have decent place over here. And what that means is that the Fortuner is a genuine 7-seater, unlike a lot of other cars which pretend to be 7-seaters. So a job really well done by Toyota. With all 3 rows of seats up, there's decent space to keep at least 2 large pieces of suitcase in the Toyota Fortuner's boot. But on the downside, the floor is too high from the ground, which means you'll have to put your back into it. Another plus is the fact that there's no loading lip, which means that you can simply slide in and slide out the biggest and the most heaviest of objects without too many issues. So overall, considering its rivals, it's a pretty decent boot. Well, so the Toyota Fortuner comes with two engine options. There's a 2.8 litre diesel, which I'm driving at the moment. Now this car makes about 177 bhp of power as well as 420 Nm of torque, which are very good figures. There's also a petrol motor. Yes, Toyota have introduced a petrol motor finally on the Fortuner, and that's a 2.7 litre engine, which makes about 166 bhp of power. Well, so Toyota has worked hard on improving the noise as well as vibration levels on this car, and even though there is that typical engine clatter when you start off from cold, as the heat builds up after a couple of kilometers or a couple of minutes, the engine settles into a quieter hum, and it's only when you really rev it hard that you can make out that there is a diesel engine powering this car. But that said, the engine noise is at a distance. It does not feel very close to you, and that's a pretty good thing. Well, one area where the Fortuner is absolutely the king is in the ride department. This car really does annihilate even the worst of worst road conditions, and you really don't have to slow down for any of those rumble strips or those broken patches of road or those badly patchwork roads which a lot of municipalities do in a hurry. So you really don't have to slow down, you just glide over them. Well, so one area where this car definitely is behind its main rival, the Ford Endeavour, is in the overall handling as well as agility. Now, even though both these cars are big and bulky SUVs, the Endeavour definitely has the advantage over the Fortuner when it comes to overall handling. Well, not only is the Fortuner's ride very comfortable and very cushiony over slower city speeds, it also offers you a very corseting ride as the speeds rise. Well, the diesel engine as well as the petrol both come with 6-speed manual as well as automatic gearboxes. Now, the manual gearbox is decent to operate. The throws are light and they don't really need a heavy hand to shift. Now, the 6-speed automatic gearbox comes with the paddle shifters here behind the steering wheel, which means that you can shift gears manually and you get some sense of what it is to drive an F1 car. Well, this diesel engine does suffer from a little bit of turbo lag, and it's only after 2000 RPM that it starts feeling lively. And between 2 and 4000 RPM, there's a wave of torque which really kicks in, and it really does push you to the back of your seat. And if you're someone who enjoys driving, then you really need to put this car and keep it between 2 and 4000 RPM to get the best from this engine. Now, the petrol engine makes about 166 bhp as well as 245 Nm of torque. Well, these figures are very good in isolation, but when you consider the size as well as the weight of the Fortuner, you will realize that the engine could have had a little more power, because in terms of driving, it feels okay, it's not bad. But if I had to nitpick, it could have been better, and it does feel a little underwhelming in terms of outright performance. So it's better to stick with the diesel engine if you are someone who is planning to buy the Fortuner. Well, when you push this car into corners, there's a decent amount of body roll, but it's always under control because the steering wheel offers you good communication as well as good feedback, and the chunky tires on the outside really offer you loads of grip, which means that you can never really feel nervous driving this car on those hilly sections. Well, a lot of people complain in my SUV videos that I don't show the cars going on off-roading tracks, and the reason for that is why I don't show you that is because 99% of people buy these cars not for their off-roading abilities, but purely for the image as well as the upmarket and premium feel that they offer. But I will tell you that if need arises, this car is pretty good at handling those rough terrains. Well, so the new Fortuner really has moved a lot more upmarket than before. It comes across as a luxurious, posh and very desirable premium SUV. And the new Fortuner really does come across as the poster boy for luxury SUVs in India at the moment. It really is that good.